Hey guys, it's Paul, combat veteran, MMA fighter, YouTuber, and caffeine addict. And today we are taking a look at the member requested, video. This is Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2 cutscenes. I'm focusing on the Necrons because it's like 4 hours of video otherwise. So let's get into it.
In the deepest eons of history, before mankind had even emerged from primordial ooze, the Necrontier dominated the galaxy. But unity receded, even as the bounds of their domain expanded. Fearing the collapse of their civilization, the leaders of the Necrontier assailed the Old Ones, seeking to wrest from them the secret of eternal life. The galaxy blazed with the fires of war.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty good summary of the Necrons' lore. Which, of course, I guess makes sense, right? Presumably, some tiny subset of people who bought Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2 don't actually know anything about Warhammer.
Too late, the Necrontier realized the impossibility of victory. Thus, they embraced damnation. The Star Gods, the Catan, walked amongst them, offering prized immortality and long-sought victory. So ended the Necrontier of old. Betrayed by the ambition of Zarek, the Silent King, they were dragged in chains to the fires of biotransference, transmuted from fragile and radiation-cursed bodies to forms more suited for the ravages of war. Stripped of flesh, of mortality, even of their souls.
I mean, okay, Warhammer 40k is not really clear on what constitutes a soul or having a soul, right? They talk about the Tau having little presence in the warp. Does that mean the Tau are barely ensouled? Is that why they can be so easily mind-controlled by ethereals? If so, do the ethereals have strong souls that are robust in the warp, right? And why can a Necrontier, or a Necron, retain their memories of their previous life and even some level of feelings and personality, but not have a soul, right? It's like that Simpsons episode when Bart sells his soul to Milhouse, even though he has not lost anything, any facet of himself. His neuroses around not having a soul consume him until he demands it back.
The Necrontier passed from history. Only the Necrons remained. Now enslaved to the will of the Catan, the Necrons at last
What's interesting to me about the Necrons and about sort of what's called transhumanism, and right, transhumanism is the idea of human beings passing through their human bodies and becoming something else, technological, a sort of technological post-human creature, is that as human beings, right, we think of ourselves as being a mind attached atop a body, and that as our bodies change, our minds will remain static, or our core personalities. But the reality isn't really like that, right? We know, for example, now, and frankly should have known for a long time, that as human beings, for example, age, the changes in their hormone levels seem to change personalities, right? Even older brains learn new information less effectively. Their thinking patterns become much, much more rigid, and they rely more heavily on patterned thinking. This is literally biologically why old people are more conservative, right? Little c conservative. And so all this to say is that the idea that a Necron can go in and exchange their body, but retain a level of the self is sort of loosely true, but it would be interesting to know if you were to create an artificial body without things like the hormones, the gut microbiome, all of that. How would you differ? Like, how would your brain be different if, let's say, you didn't have hormones to tell you sleep or satiety? would you continue to produce dopamine or oxytocin, chemicals around love and caring? It's tough to say.
The course of the war, cosmic battle lines buckled and at last broke beneath a tide of immortal fury. As the last of the Old Ones fell, Zarek led what remained of his people in revolt against their Catan masters. The Star Gods were overthrown, shattered into shards, and forced to serve those they had once ruled. But centuries of war had taken their toll on both the Necrons and the galaxy. To preserve what remained of their empire, the Necrons retreated to colossal stasis tombs, to sleep away millennia while their domain healed and their rivals passed into dust. Freed from the shackles of time, the passing millennia meant nothing to them. 60 million years have passed, and the ancient tombs are once more stirring to life.
So what's interesting, one of the things that they point out is, even in the lore, that a lot of tomb worlds are destroyed simply by virtue of changes over time. 60 million years is indeed a long time, right? If you look at 60 million years into Earth's past, you will see dinosaurs, you will see Pangea, a significantly different continental makeup. But in contrast, right, 60 million years into, say, the moon's past, you would see, frankly, not as much different, right? And that's, of course, because different planetary bodies behave differently. So when they talk about, some worlds were destroyed when stars went supernova, stars have a pretty fixed life cycle, and you can definitely dial to within 60 million years of whether or not they're going to go supernova. Likewise, you can tell from a world whether it has significant tectonic activity or not. In fact, you could, if you had to, probably even forecast, with just current technology, forecast whether or not large objects would be passing near a given world, right? For example, an asteroid that might destroy that world. So all this to say that if you had a Necron level of technology and intellect, right, truly the on par with humanity in its golden age, you probably wouldn't actually have your tomb worlds end up being that destroyed, because you can probably make really good guesses what is going to be stable over the span of 60 million years.
The Necrons, forgotten by all but the Eldari, are returning to claim what was theirs. They will abide no trespassers. With the awakening of their Therion, Kefrek the Unbroken, the Neferu dynasty arises once more. Undying legions stir in the forgotten dirt of 100 worlds. The reconquest of the galaxy has begun.
Marco, let the legions rise.
Da-da!
Marco, unleash the power of the Neferu. Marco, our worlds are infested. Scour them clean. This is my hour.
He seems pissed.
The time has come for the might of the Neferu to be felt once again, my servant. Our ancient domain is...
Oh, this is literally gameplay footage. Is that what that is? I hope this... Yeah, this might be... Alright, let's see.
Infested with primitives. You are to scour them from...
So did they just make up this dynasty for the game?
My son, as you command, so shall it be, Great One.
The Adeptus Mechanicus fleet is drawing close to the northern pole. They are close to discovering our tombs.
Are we detected?
No. Their sensors are focused on the surface.
Interesting. So, yeah, this is... I mean... it's always tough to know, right? Like, all right, if you woke up 60 million years into the future, it would be a disorienting experience. And why do they even know what the Adeptus Mechanicus are, right? Obviously, they would not. Also, you would either have no failures at all because you designed your equipment to be untouchable, right? That would be, for example, if you were to, let's say, honestly, they never should have put their tomb worlds on worlds to begin with, right? Worlds are over a 60 million year time frame. Dynamic, they change, things happen. Even your best guess, even if you were to put them on like Mars, a world with no tectonic plate activity, you would still end up with this situation where windstorms, right? Things would get worn down and broken. And that's sort of what you saw with the Necrons. However, if you had literally built a tomb world and put it in space somewhere, you would have a much better chance, especially if it was in a dead, empty region of space.
Excellent.
Plus, the lack of oxygen, the lack of anything, means that as long as you properly disinfected and depressured your tombs, nothing would ever erode your metal. Nothing would erode any of your material. It would never oxidize because there's no oxygen to oxidize.
Engage silent running. Let them remain blind until it is too late.
Okay, I was hoping for more cutscenes. Let's see what happens here. Maybe it'll cycle through.
We are under attack. Postulate theory. Necron ambush. Acknowledged. Assistance required. Confirmed. Reinforcements dispatched. Arrival imminent.
Okay, does the Mechanicus really talk like that in lore? Again, a real Mechanicus, part of the transhumanism theory is that, look, we as human beings, right, we are currently in a state of transhumanism. I mean, look, I am a person who knows certain things and communicates with certain people. I can talk to them. My wife is like in the other room. I could talk to her. But through the technology of a phone, which we never allow to leave our bodies, I can communicate lightning fast, right, with anyone. And I can recall and process information at a much greater rate. Why am I telling you this? Because the Adeptus Mechanicus, who are literally phone people, iPhone people, would never have like radio transmissions where they talk to each other and are like, postulate theory, Necrons. Literally, a better example would be a continuous like radio quasi telepathic connection that would just pop with Necron ambush, right? You might even not use verbal communication. You might just literally see Necrons ambushing your ships, and that idea would spread through the network, right? Much like a meme does today. Oh, this is actual gameplay? Oh no, okay, he's skipped ahead.
Excellent. You exceed my expectations. You have delivered the lessons in respect and caution this day. And if those lessons are not taken to heart, all who oppose my will shall perish. Indeed. The recent awakenings have drawn mankind's restless eye. The servants of the formless horror will not be far behind. We shall be ready. Indeed. I cede command of a new fleet to aid your others. The boundaries of this sector chafe at me. Is it proper that an eminence such as mine be thus confined? It is not, great one.
Okay, so one of the things that is sort of interesting about this whole dynamic is that kings and any singular person who sits atop one of these state or in our case like multinational companies, like a huge empire-sized entity, they are more constrained than it sometimes makes it seem, right? And what do I mean by this? Because there's always stakeholders, right? This is the problem of all hierarchies, is that ultimately, like Kim Jong-un, for example, he doesn't defend Korea by himself, right? Despite what the propaganda says, he's not literally going to ride a tank and defeat the United States single-handedly. He's not Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen, right? He needs subordinates to do his bidding. And how then do you maintain yourself at the peak of that pyramid and still have subordinates who will do your bidding? And the answer is you have to manage who you give your bidding to, what you ask them to do, what constraints they're under, and you have to keep them played against one another so that they can never form enough of a cabal to actually challenge your power, right? So you would not see, right? You would be unlikely to see a Pharaon 1 give all of their authority to a subcommander, right? They would, a fleet, perhaps, that's realistic, but what they would also do is perhaps have other fleets with either similar orders or even in some ways conflicting orders, or orders that will almost certainly put them at odds with one another. And that helps to ensure that by having these two forces actually work against one another, it ensures that there's enough resentment and bad blood that they will, those two subcommanders will almost never join forces in a cabal to overthrow you. And this is one of the reasons that top-down dictatorship-type militaries are often pretty ineffective. It's because they cannot achieve the level of cooperation across the whole spectrum of operations and stakeholders necessary to be really effective as a military force, because things can never become too centralized.
Then we are of one mind. Reclaim the neighboring Golden Gate, so that distant worlds might come to know my greatness. It shall be as you command.
Tread carefully, Nemesis. So forthright a move is likely to draw the gaze in the Eldari.
Do you question our Pharaoh's command?
I merely counsel caution. Arrogance is a poor shield.
I cannot defy the Great One. His will is supreme.
As you wish, Nemesis. As you wish.
See, that is exactly the sort of stuff we're talking about. There is a person who is already planting the seeds of overtaking the Pharaon, right? Another authoritative leader, right? Probably a religious leader, who is starting to reach out and see who is open and who is not to overthrowing the Pharaon. Now, obviously, right there in that statement, it indicated that I don't remember his name, the sub-commander, right, is not open to it, right? He's declined that overture. Okay, don't really care about this. Oh, there we go. Okay, it says it's a cutscene soon. Yep, blow up the Imperium. Ah. Okay, there we go.
10,000 years have passed since the galaxy burned in the fires of the Horus heresy.
That's bad.
10 millennia since the greatest of the Emperor's Primarchs fell into the grasp of eternal damnation and tore the galaxy asunder.
That's also bad.
Horus Lupercal may be dead, his body ashes, and his memory the stuff of a cursed legend. But the wounds he wrought yet gape in the hide of an embattled Imperium. For the battle against chaos knows no end.
That's good.
Many of Horus' servants survived the civil wars.
That's bad.
And they have not forgotten their defeat.
Also bad.
When the War Master fell, they retreated to the Eye of Terror.
That's good.
And waged battle anew.
That's bad.
Greatest of these was Abaddon the Despoiler, Horus' greatest living heir.
That's bad.
Abaddon took the title of War Master for his own and embarked upon a long, bloody campaign, to succeed where his fallen master had failed.
That's also bad.
12 Black Crusades he launched against the Imperium of Man.
That's good.
12 world-shattering campaigns to forever alter the balance of power.
That's bad.
Now, as the millennium draws to a close, a vast armada of traitors
Armada.
hits its moorings as Abaddon launches his 13th and perhaps final strike.
That's bad.
As the tide of chaos breaks against the Cadian Gate,
That's good.
the Imperium holds its breath. Faith alone cannot hold back these bleak waters. Only valor will serve.
That's good. That's good. Okay, that wasn't related to the Necrons at all. This is gameplay? Is this a...
My ascension
There you go.
proceeds apace. You have done well. I do but serve as your vessel, Great One.
Great One.
Yet, I have some concern that reawakening the Dolmen Gate
Oh,
will have drawn the
interesting.
gaze of the Eldari. If the Eldari are alerted to our presence, it is due to your actions, not my command. Of course, Great One. I did not mean to imply otherwise.
Okay, so, this is the question, right? Is that a statement? Clearly, there's some resentment starting to build in this subcommander, right? So we're well on our way to seeing the fact that, okay, this person, perhaps, again, in a real top-down dictatorship, this would be an indicator that this person was going to be on the outs. And notice he was given an assignment that almost certainly would result in his failure. So the inability to accomplish the mission, right, or an unaccomplishable mission, sets this person up to be put sort of in the proverbial doghouse, right? And it depends on the exact dictator to know what exactly will happen. So it could be a case of the doghouse just means that they will drop in their relative power rankings against other subcommanders. There will be other more favored commanders receiving better commands. Or it could literally mean jail or even execution, depending on sort of the dynamic of that particular organization.
We know your intent. We know your purpose. We will find you, and your curse shall be lifted from this region.
Greetings, esteemed foe. Rejoice, for we shall meet you in battle as protocol demands.
And you shall be scattered across the stars for your presumption.
I bring dire tidings, Nemesis. Our outposts register Eldari fleets in increasing number.
Do tell, Tsar. I would never have guessed without your bountiful insight. The Eldari are indeed roused, as you predicted. The Pharaon will hold me accountable for this.
Unless you put an end to the incursions before he orders you to do so. Victory forgives all transgressions.
Indeed. But it is Kefrek's forgiveness that concerns me most.
So this is interesting, right? Clearly he believes that this Pharaon holds tremendous power, but it's not clear on why. Again, he's given a mission that inevitably results in his failure, and he may unexpectedly attain victory. But even if he succeeds in eliminating all of the Eldari ships, he would still be the bad guy, right? He would still have failed because he alerted the Eldari, which the Pharaon clearly indicated to, I think Overseer is his title, clearly indicated to the Overseer would not be an acceptable outcome.
It has come to my notice
So now you notice, well, there we go, see?
that you have repelled an Eldari incursion without instruction. I thought it best, Great One. I did not wish to trouble you with such matters. I see.
Seized a strategic area.
Have a care that your initiative does not become a spur to excessive pride.
Right, you see, the Overseer is just like, I can't win. And he's not going to win. Because the Overseer, this is the other problem, is that there's it's a problem when you have a sub-commander, in this case the Overseer, who is too effective, right? So the Pharaoh may have realized, hey, I accidentally took an extremely skilled commander and gave them an entire powerful fleet. This was a mistake. They're better than I thought they were, and they may actually be able to be charismatic enough or effective enough to challenge my rule. So what then, especially given his willingness to push back on the Pharaoh. So what then to do? Well, the answer is, of course, you have to find a way for that person to get put down a peg. As we talked about, fighting an unwinnable fight against the Eldari is one option. He's clearly being already set up to be put on the outs relative to other commanders. And I would expect that the next step, of course, is going to be an even more unwinnable mission, ideally one that takes place far from the Pharaoh's home base of operations.
Naturally not, Great One. And yet, you have served me well. Thus I grant you a further decree of plenty. Use it well. Of course, Great One.
Yeah, it's not realistic. You wouldn't reward them with larger forces, someone who has already shown a willingness to defy you a little bit and is an extremely effective commander. No, that's not how dictatorships work.
Today, you are rewarded. But what of tomorrow?
Yep. It's a screensaver.
The region of space now known as the Eye of Terror was once home to the Eldari Empire. A prideful, sensuous people, the Eldari realized too late the perils of excess. The fourth Chaos God, Slaanesh, was born from their debauchery. Its coming heralded by a psychic scream that shook real space to its foundations and devastated the Eldari. The Crone Worlds are all that remain of the Eldari's fallen domain. They are blighted planets, consumed by the spreading unreality of the Eye of Terror, and twisted to new and nightmarish realities. Though the Crone Worlds are overrun by the servants of the Dark Gods, the Eldari have not entirely abandoned them. They cannot, for only here can the treasured spirit stones be harvested.
Okay, I mean, I appreciate this lore overview, but also I'm familiar with a lot of it.
And thus the souls of the dying be saved from thirsting Slaanesh. Such expeditions are fraught with peril, for there are few more dangerous places amongst the stars. Many who seek the Crone Worlds do not return. The Eldari have never recovered from the horrors of the Fall. They are a fractured, dwindling population on the brink of extinction.
That's
Most
bad.
dwell aboard star-treading craft worlds, honing their peerless minds along the disciplined paths in the hope of staving off the perils of decadence and thus preventing a second, final catastrophe. But not all Eldari can bear the rigidity of craft world life. Some depart their homes, seeking adventure amongst the stars as corsairs. Such lives are fraught with danger, but are also rich with excitement. These outcasts can be found in every corner of the galaxy, blazing a brief but exhilarating trail before madness claims them. The Drakari, too, live outside the structures of the Eldari path. Corrupt and cruel, they keep Slaanesh at bay, not with discipline and spirit stones, but by feasting on the torment of others.
That's bad.
Raiders enslave us all.
So is it like in this game, do you choose a faction and then you get sort of the orientation to the other factions as you encounter them?
The Drakari are a blight upon the galaxy, as selfish as they are sadistic, as untrustworthy as they are cunning. But in recent days, the barriers between the Eldari factions have begun to crumble, with ever more gathering beneath the banner of one named Ivrain. These Inari keep their beliefs hidden as their intentions.
Dun, dun, dun.
Should they be encountered on the battlefield, caution will serve you well.
the Eldari intrusion so masterfully contained, I would have you turn your eye to different horizons.
With the
Told you, reassign him somewhere else.
greatest respect, Great One. It is only a matter of time before the Eldari return.
I will not have my wisdom questioned by a groveling cryptek. You will remain silent.
I stand ready to obey your will, Great One.
Have you heard of the vagabond Trazin?
I know he is a thief, unworthy of your mention.
Indeed. This day, the thief has uncovered something of great value to the Nephilim. We must meet his price in trade. Trazin is a collector. You will acquire for him a sought-after
You
specimen.
have accumulated
Segle Khan of the human warriors designated the White Guard. Do not fail me.
Okay, that would be almost unreally difficult. Obviously, Space Marines do not take kindly to being captured and would, I imagine, comfortably die before capture. So in order to isolate a single one of them, it would just be almost unrealistically impossible. Barring some sort of gee-whiz space technology like a stasis field or something. Which the Necrons probably have. Or they could just like go back in time or whatever and yoink them out that way.
Honored foe, we come in need, not out of desire for bloodshed. Surrender yourself, and your followers will be spared.
Necrons, here. By the pyres of Kumkarta, you'll have nothing from me.
Incorrect. A pity he is so selfish.
The unascended are orphans, never children.
Dot, 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 dot. I don't even know why I'm going to pause this. This is just gameplay, which seems cool. I'm into it. What is your command? I'm getting some real Homeworld vibes from this, by the way. Homeworld was probably one of the original space strategy games. Gosh, I must have played it in high school. It is just awesome. Truly, like it truly is one of the greats. Alright, that dude definitely just rammed that ship. Yeah, Homeworld was just great. An original plot, an interesting story, and awesome gameplay, and awesome visuals. They took a really limited graphic engine and really made it just feel awesome and real.
Shroud strike complete. Critical damage levied.
Segle Khan has been seized and transposed to a Tesseract labyrinth.
Excellent. Alas, it would appear that his warriors desire to fight on.
Hardly unexpected, Nemesis. Pride is a spur to foolishness. I recommend you protect the capture ship. It would be a shame to lose Trezin's prize.
Ah, interesting. Yep, another unwinnable mission far, far into the depths of the galaxy.
The Imperium of Man. A galaxy-spanning empire in decline. Once, humanity stood on the brink of taming the stars. A golden age of light and glory beckoned.
Seen this
But
story.
men have ever been prone to temptation and lured to stubborn pride. Now the Space Marines, intended as the vanguard of mankind's ascension, fight ceaselessly to prevent their father's work sliding into ruin.
All 10,000 of them. Or whatever it is, you know, what, 1 million?
The Adeptus Mechanicus, custodians of wondrous technology, take to the stars in hope of unearthing lost secrets from the very darkest of ages, and to impose the Omnissiah's will upon a scattered galaxy. But nowhere is the Imperium's might more plainly seen than in the vessels of its star-spanning navy. As war rages, colossal warships slip anchor to smite the foe with the righteous fury of the faithful. Such vessels are both Imperium's stalwart shield and gleaming spear, shining in the impenetrable dark of space. It takes more than a man to command such a warship. It takes a hero, strong in will and unflinching of purpose. Without such heroes, the Emperor's light would surely wane. Admiral Spire is one such hero.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Forged in the hallways of the vaunted Schola Progenium, tempered in the cursed days of Abaddon's 12th Black Crusade. Long has he been lost, but now, freed from the Immaterium's clutches, he returns to shed his blood in the Emperor's cause once more. Any who seek to sweep mankind from the stars must first reckon with Spire. Many have sought his head. All have failed. But one hero alone may not be enough to change the Imperium's fortunes. It will take thousands, even millions, for mankind to reclaim its footing in the Eye of Terror's gaping maw. And millions more to hold it. Such a task will not be easy. Cadia is demon-hunted rubble, and the Imperium itself is scarred, torn into
Yep, we know all this. This is very, very, very done to death.
two by the cicatrix maledictum. But it is the nature of heroes to triumph in adversity, and of faith to flourish in the dark.
Is the specimen secure?
Not sure why we had to have that lengthy cutscene, but okay.
In deep with a tesseract level.
Oh, interesting. Look, okay, so it's like a tactical, or it's like a strategic game too. Who controls the most systems?
Strength is in pristine condition. Perfect for Trazin's collection.
Good. Kefrek will be pleased.
Perhaps. Dealing with Trazin is seldom a smooth course.
So, Kefrek, my thanks for the amusing trifle. I know just the gallery in which to place him.
Archaeovist of the Solminous Galleries, Trazin the Infinite. Man, I need to start appointing myself my own titles. That's what I need.
I have upheld my end of the bargain.
Pharaon, Kefrek the Unbroken. Okay, I mean, maybe it's one of those things where your flex is just having one name, like Alexander the Great. Like, at the end of the day, you can't get any better than that. I guess it'd be Alexander the Best, right?
Now for you to uphold yours. Where is my trionic activator?
I do not have it.
Charlatan! You have betrayed the divine will of Kefrek the Unbroken, Pharaon of Neferu. I shall see you disintegrated for this.
Don't be tedious, Kefrek. I don't have it, but I do know where it can be found. I never promised to place the thing in your hand. It is aboard the human vessel designated Phalanx. I recently had the opportunity to have a look around. You need only reclaim it.
Very well. But you shall remain here as my guest. I would not want there to be any misunderstandings.
Your guest? Well, I can hardly refuse. Not with all these guards. I mean, servants so close to hand.
Never saw a mock.
Just gonna point this out. If Trazin the Infinite really had power, right? So here's the thing: if you can just show up and capture the person you need to deal with, again, there's no law in the galaxy. You could just capture him in the first place. Now, obviously, like, maybe that's what they did, but why even bother with this White Scar crap? Why not just show up and demand it, right? Be like, I will kill you if you don't give me my trionic doodad, you know? Why'd we even go through the trouble of doing the White Scar Courier thing? As discussed, probably to get his, skilled but rebellious sub-commander out of his hair for a while. And maybe to try to get him killed by the Space Marines.
I leave it to you to replace the Trionic activator. Take Trazyn with you. If the activator is not present on Phalanx, destroy him. If it is, destroy the human vessel once it has been acquired.
Of course, Great One. This device, what function does it serve?
It is to be the cornerstone of my glorious triumph. More than that, you do not need to know.
He's gonna steal it.
This is a suicide mission. The Phalanx is no defenseless scow.
We will find a way. Otherwise, if the Phalanx does not kill us, Kefrek surely will.
Who from Kefrek's other commanders will kill you? Okay. He seems like maybe they have curried much more favor than you have.
Your fate hangs on our retrieval of the Trionic activator.
I think I'm insulted. Of course it's there. Buried away in a relic chamber. Overlooked and unloved.
Deplorably, the Phalanx shields are strong. It will take an age to breach them, even with our strongest weaponry.
I concur. Prepare the invasion cohorts. We will take the fight to the Phalanx's depths. The thickest hide is no defense when the strike falls from within.
Yeah, it doesn't... Okay, sure.
It would appear the Phalanx has no escort. They must think us fools to fall for so obvious a ploy. Or perhaps solar eruptions are imminent. Do they fear the effects? Naturally, our vessels will suffer no harm from such events.
It is well this is so. The Phalanx will surely not emerge unscathed from a star's embrace. It is a weakness we can exploit.
Yeah, those kind of random chances, those random events in battles happen, well, all the time, literally. And this is, I think, the nature of warfare generally, is that, one, the human beings always want to plan around things. They want to believe that a good plan will mitigate chance, but probability and chance have a tremendous role in all of our lives all of the time. And when you have... The nature of warfare is such that each person is making plans, and intrinsic to their plans is disrupting the other person's plans, right? So when you have an environment in which two adversaries are actively trying to create chaos in each other's operations, you're going to just have the chances of disruption, chaos, unplanned events, strange coincidences just grows immensely. Alright, we're going to see how this ends, and then we got to get out of here.
You have White Scar's blood on your hands, Necron. You owe the Imperium a debt. I thank you for granting me the opportunity to collect on it.
I take no pleasure in my actions against your Imperium. But you are insects, crawling across a galaxy far beyond...
Also, these speeches don't really happen.
...your comprehension. If you must be crushed for our betterment, then so be it.
Fine words, but any conqueror would say the same.
Indeed, they would. But my fine words are all the solace I have to offer. The will of Kefrek will not be gainsaid.
I don't know what the word gainsaid means. I've never heard it before in my life. This is a weird writer. I've also heard never, like, things are a spur to other things. That's also new to me.
approaches, Trazin.
Receive threats from experts. Yours do not measure up.
Maybe Trazin is certain he has some sort of doodad that'll get him out of it. I don't know.
Shroud strike successful. Damage levied. Boarding successful. Frayed ones are feasting.
Our warriors have the trionic activator, but there is a complication. The humans have blocked their evacuation route. They seem agitated.
So close and yet so far distant. But I have a suggestion. I have in my possession the Tesseract Labyrinth containing a tiberian swarm of quite humorous extent. Were I to let it loose within the phalanx, your warriors could make their escape.
Where did he just keep this thing in his pocket? Because he'll have to go back and get it. It's a physical thing.
And the vessel would surely be inconvenienced. It might even be destroyed.
Do you think me a fool? You are my guest. Do you suppose I would allow you to cast aside my hospitality with our work undone?
I expect you to send me away, aboard the phalanx. The next time a solar eruption strips the shields. Is the only way to seize your prize. It's that, or have your head beside mine at the foot of Kefret's throne.
Very well. Zar, begin preparations.
Yeah, see, this is like old hat. Trazin knows the score here. And he probably knows he's going to be able to flip the Overseer. Pew, 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 pew. Let's pick it up, guys.
Energy to recoalescence.
Okay.
Reassembling coherence.
Captain, we have Tyranids aboard. Casualties reported throughout the central structure.
Impossible! No! Muster all forces. Repel the borders.
The main armory is already overrun. 3 bulwark fortresses have already fallen. We may have to abandon ship.
This cannot be. The Phalanx has endured for millennia. It cannot fail now, not under my command.
We just lost
Happens all
another
the time.
bulwark fortress. We have Tyranid sightings in the primary reactor chamber. What are your orders? Captain? Captain!
I assume they all got off, though. That wasn't really part of the plan. Okay, this looks very dramatic.
The skeins part unwillingly, swirled by the machinations of the formless horror. But I have him. An asteroid belt in the
Wait,
Does
what?
your foresight...
activator is in our hands.
Excellent. Instruct the Canoptic servitors to return our vessel to full function.
Traitor. Deceiver. Charlatan.
Great one.
Trazin has escaped. Return him to me. I will see him dragged through the colonnades behind my Imperial bars for this.
Zar, does your foresight...
Okay, yeah, alright, let's switch it. Alright. Guys, that is interesting. That is an interesting look at sort of the dynamics that authoritarian leaders have to exhibit to stay in control. Now, obviously, I think a lot of the behaviors of that Pharaon did not really capture that, or they sort of did. They could in additional context. But one of the things that makes Warhammer 40k just so good is that they really better than almost any other fantasy franchise or space sci-fi franchise, capture the dynamic that real people have with one another, right? That is the thing that I think is really missing in a lot of other franchises, and why I think it has an older fan base than for example, Star Wars or Harry Potter, right? Is that when you've been around the block a few times, you realize that, one, the real world is in fact pretty grimdark, and that the reality of people's lives is always a bit more dynamic and complicated than we realize. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Thanks to my channel members that asked for this particular video. If you want to become a channel member, you get to submit a request for my Friday video, you get to vote on my Friday video, and you get exclusive access to rooms on the Discord. Other than that, guys, yeah, the Discord is mostly free, though. If you want to join, check out the description. It's got all the links there. Check out the podcast, everything else. Okay, that's all I got. Thanks, and I will see you later.